Scales are hard to memorize. There's loads of them, many of them are very, very similar with only one or two notes difference, and just when you think you've got the hang of them, you have to shift them into different keys, which throws everything out of whack. So in today's lesson, I want to share with you 3 exercises that I love to use myself, I use with students, to help you consolidate your scales at a deep level, really get to grips with them, and also to freshen up your practice routine, because we have to practice scales a lot. And so if you're drilling them all the time in the same way, that's going to get a little bit stale, a little bit boring. Now, before we dive into the lesson, 3 quick things to run through which apply to each of these different exercises. Number 1, I'm using our trusty and beloved G minor pentatonic or minor pentatonic scale to illustrate these exercises, but you can use this in any key and you can use this with any scale that you might be trying to learn. Major scale, natural minor, harmonic minor, major pentatonic, blues scale, whatever it might be, these exercises apply in the same way. Number 2, I would recommend that you use a metronome whenever you are practicing these ideas. You are literally getting double the bang for your buck when you practice using a metronome versus without it. It's going to help you drill rhythmic accuracy, which is an absolutely essential skill to have as a guitar player. And it means that you can use these exercises in one of 2 ways, which brings me on to point number 3. You can use your metronome and alter how you use it or how you set it to treat these exercises either as a warm-up, so with the metronome at a kind of quite relaxed pace, playing 8th notes and just really focusing on rhythmic accuracy, getting the hands nice and warm, getting into the practice routine. Or you can double these exercises up as technical exercises. So you shift that to playing 16th notes, or you start to push the pace of the metronome a little bit, and then it becomes not just about drilling the scales, but starting to play them quite quickly. And if you want to improve your speed and your technique, that's a really, really great way to use those exercises. So, with that out of the way, let's dive into it. Exercise number 1, nice and simple. I like to call this going into flashcard mode. So instead of always playing your scales starting with shape 1, then to shape 2, then shape 3, shape 4, shape 5, we just mix things up. You just move through them in a kind of totally random order. So in that opening clip, using my G minor pentatonic scale, I started in shape 3, I moved to shape 5, down to shape 2, and so on. If you are used to always practicing your scales in order, always starting with the first shape, number 1, you'll be surprised at how difficult it is to actually play and practice them out of order. And number 2, you're going to notice 2 real practical benefits in your playing. The first of these is that it stops you thinking about shapes 2, 3, 4, and 5 in relation to shape 1. So many times when I'm working with players on a one-to-one basis, I'll say, right, let's move to shape 3 of the scale. And you can sort of see them working up from shape 1. So they'll go, okay, shape 1 is here. Okay, so shape 2 is here. Okay, so shape 3. And it takes them that kind of little bit of time to get to that shape. And they're always thinking of it in relation to the starting point. And that's not very useful in a practical playing situation, because you want to be soloing with freedom, you want to be creating melodies and moving around the fretboard with freedom. And if you're always thinking, okay, shape 1, shape 2, shape 3, that's really, really slowing you down. The second benefit of this is that I think you'll really find that you actually learn and get much more comfortable with the other shapes of the scale. So often, and maybe this is something that you've experienced in your own playing, you're confident with shape 1, you're confident with shape 2, shape 3, yeah, a little, shape 4, on a good day, shape 5, you've never even kind of got that far. And that's simply because starting with shape 1, that's what we're always prioritizing. We're always starting fresh there and then, the other shapes just don't get the same attention. So by mixing things up, you're really kind of spreading the attention across the shapes, and I think you'll find that you really start to get to grips with them much more quickly. So that's the first exercise, nice and straightforward. Give that a go, mix things up. And as is going to be true of all of these exercises, you don't need to spend 10, 20, 30 minutes per practice session on this. Pop that into your routine, 5 minutes, give it a go, have that in there for a couple of weeks, and then mix it out and sort of move on to one of the other exercises here to keep things nice and fresh. That's it for exercise 1, guys. Head over to exercise 2 when you are ready. Exercise number 2, I like to call it the shapeshifter, honestly just to liven up what is essentially quite a dry technical exercise. But jokes aside, this exercise is actually awesome for 2 reasons. The first one is that it starts to get you to concentrate on the shape of the scale and not where it appears in a specific key. So often as blues players, we're practicing in the same key. A, G, E, whatever it might be. And it's very, very easy for players to fall into the trap of feeling comfortable in one key. So like in A, you know all of your shapes, but you shift that to E and then suddenly it's like you totally lost where shape 5 appears, shape 4, shape 3, and it's a very kind of disconcerting feeling. So by kind of moving up chromatically in the way that we are here, we're not thinking about playing these shapes in any key, we're just thinking about the shape itself. That's an amazing benefit of this first exercise. And it's kind of nice and easy with a symmetrical shape like the first shape of the minor pentatonic scale. But as soon as you shift that up into, say, the second shape, where it's no longer symmetrical, I think you're going to find this much more challenging. The second big benefit of this exercise is that the motion is constant. So you could see that I was playing all the way up the fretboard and all the way back down again without any pauses. So it doubles up beautifully as a technical exercise, and it's amazing for building stamina and synchronicity between the 2 hands because you're literally playing all the way through. You've got the metronome going, and so it's perfect for that kind of second benefit, to enjoy that second benefit as well. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated than the last one, so let me just show you exactly how it's going to work. I recommend starting nice and low on the fretboard. I started down at the 3rd fret. You can go 2nd, 4th, you could go 1st if you want, but that doesn't always work so well if you have to then kind of include open strings. Might get a little tricky. So if we start down at the 3rd fret, you're going to take your first shape of the scale, and you're going to play from the bottom of that scale to the top, like this. When you get to the top, instead of playing back down to the bottom, you just shift up a single fret and then play back down. You get to the bottom of the scale, shift up a single fret, and you get the idea. Now, in that sort of opening video, I kind of worked up to around here, but honestly, you can go a little higher if you want. You don't have to go quite as high if your practice time is a little bit more limited, but just work your way, decently up the fretboard and then work your way back down to the beginning. As soon as you get back down to the beginning, move straight into the second shape. So at the end of that example, I got down here and then just shift to shape number 2. so on. You can move up with shape 2, back down with shape 2, and then straight into shape number 3. Again, it's an awesome exercise, really, really builds nice stamina. And what I was doing there was I was playing eighth notes over a 90 beats a minute sort of metronome track, but you could easily kind of double that or push the pace a little, and it's a great, great technical exercise, a mental exercise, and a wonderful way of consolidating your scale shapes. So give this one a go, pop this into your practice routine, and I am certain you'll have no problem shifting keys and moving these shapes all over the place in no time. Exercise number 3, we are going to ride the pentatonic roller coaster. Again, an exciting name I've chosen there to liven up this third exercise, which actually is my favorite of the 3. It's a wonderful little exercise for 2 reasons. Number 1, again, like the last exercise, it builds stamina. I went from the bottom of the fretboard there through the 5 shapes, back down to the first shape without stopping. And it's just a great way of building synchronicity and really just increasing the amount of time that you're playing without stopping. Again, doubles up beautifully as a technical exercise for building a little speed as well. And number 2, and the big, big reason I love this one, is that it actually gets you thinking and using these scales in a slightly more practical way. Now, the problem with scales as a kind of musical concept is that they don't have an inherently musical feel or sound often. You know, if you're playing a scale, it sounds like a scale. And that often translates through into people's playing when they begin to improvise. But here, we're moving through the scale shapes kind of in a way that's a little bit more similar to what you might actually do in a solo. So for example, that kind of first shift between the first and second shapes, you know, it starts to facilitate those kind of movements where you're actually shifting between the scales in musical ways. So a beautiful little exercise and actually quite a little fun one to throw into your routine. So let's break it down in a little bit more detail. Like the others, nothing too complicated. We're going to start, in this case, I'm using my G minor pentatonic scale as I kind of have been throughout, but you can use this on any scale you might be working on and in any key. So we're going to start in that first shape. We're going to start from the bottom, ascend to the top of the scale. And then here, rather than descend back down again, you're going to shift up to the top of the second shape and descend from there. Get to the bottom of the second shape, shift up, and then ascend from the bottom of the third shape. And so on and so forth. And again, you go up and back down through the scale shapes in this way. Now, this one can be a little tricky, and the big, big thing I want you to look out for is that you don't get your fingerings kind of all messed up. Because what you're doing, let's look at that kind of first to second shape shift. The way that I would finger the top of that second shape would be with my ring finger first and then my first finger. So I would actually have to go and make a little shift in the fingering that I'm using there. If you kind of play it with your fourth and your middle, you don't need to do that. But you do need to be mindful of the way that the fingerings that you're using here, and try to make them kind of constant across the scale shapes, ascending and descending, because every time you shift, if you have to make a little adjustment, that's the time to do it. And if you don't, then you're going to get potentially a little tripped up. By the way, if you're wondering why I play that with my third and first finger rather than the second and the fourth, which would actually be a little bit more economical, it's really because often I'm playing the blues scale and the blue note would appear there. And from an actual practical playing point of view, I'm typically using those fingers to bend and kind of do all those beautiful bluesy ideas. So just a little brief aside there. But there we have it, exercise number 3. Again, as with the others, give it a go. You don't need to throw this into your routine, you don't need to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes on it. A little quick blast, have fun with it, shift it around, try it in different keys, try it with different scales, and it's going to do so much to improve your technique, your timing, and consolidate whichever scale you're trying to learn at a super deep level. Okay, just a few closing thoughts, because honestly, I can't sleep at night without making sure I've ticked all of these boxes for you guys. As I've mentioned a couple of times, you don't need to practice all these exercises at the same time. Just take one, have it on rotation. Once you feel really confident with one, move on to the next one. There's no kind of rush through these exercises. Get them under your fingers and then move on. And you can kind of have them on rotation, over a kind of couple of week period. Number 2, big one. When you're using the metronome, prioritize playing with clean technique. No kind of scuffing. This is not about a kind of race to speed. You do not want to be going, okay, and getting all of that kind of horrible noise and clip notes and all of that bad stuff. We really want to be locked into the metronome, nice and clean, using alternate picking, playing very, very smoothly. There's no excuse to play kind of sloppy scales. What we're trying to do is consolidate these scales, but do so in a way that is musical and always rhythmical. And then number 3, again, don't be afraid to have a little kind of doubling up where you use some of these exercises as technical pieces. And in that case, you're still trying to play rhythmically. You're always trying to play rhythmically, but you're pushing the pace a little bit. So kind of just add that, notch that metronome up over time. Again, small increments, and they'll all add up, and that's really gonna build your synchronicity and ability to play across these scales fast. Get the Joe Bonamassa thing going, get the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing going, the Rory Gallagher thing going, and kind of build pace like those guys. And that is it from me, guys. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. And if there's any exercises that you love in your routine which I've missed, drop them below as well. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next one.